The sheer anonymity of the night of 30th October 2023 will remain in the minds of Mbitu's family. By the time of this call, it was already too late.
She's had an injury. She can't come to the phone.
As those robotic words were being said, the man who responded was sitting a few inches right next to Maggie, calculating his next move hours after her world had gone dark. Something far much worse had happened. She had not just had an injury, she had become a victim of a fatal attack. And no, this was not the act of a man who suddenly lost control. This was not a mistake. In fact, this was the first move in a cold, careful plan. A plan that would last 30 hours. A plan that included getting rid of evidence and using a 7,000-mile flight to escape. These are the last hours of Maggie. Margaret Mbitu, mostly known as Maggie, was born in 1992 at Kijabe Hospital in Kiambu, Kenya. Maggie was a loving daughter to Haron Mbitu and Rose Mbitu. She was the youngest daughter in a family where caring for others was a tradition, seeing her mother and her older sister were all nurses. She moved to the United States in a bid to keep building her future. Here, she lived in Whitman, Massachusetts, a small town about 30 minutes south of the big city of Boston. Like many Kenyans who go abroad, Maggie had a dream, and so far it was a success story. She worked for a healthcare organization called BAMSI, and this was not just a job for her. BAMSI helps people who face very difficult problems in life like serious disabilities and mental illnesses, and Maggie was very good at it. She started as a counselor and was so dedicated that she was promoted several times. From the co-worker statements, people did not just respect her, they loved her. At 31 years old, Maggie was full of ambition as she was further studying to become a nurse practitioner. As a tribute, BAMSI later formed the Maggie Mbitu Scholarship Fund to help other employees become nurses, so her dream could keep helping others even after she was gone. But it would seem this bright public life was very different from her private life. In private, she was fighting to escape a bad situation. Her relationship with Kevin Kangethe, a 40-year-old from Lowell, a city north of Boston, had come to an end. Her mother, Rose, confirmed that Maggie had made the decision to end the relationship. She was taking real steps to get away from Kangethe and remove his control from her life. It was this brave act, her fight for her own safety and future, that police believe led to the terrible events that happened next. On the night of Monday, October 30th, two paths were coming closer. For Maggie, it was a normal workday at her job in Halifax, Massachusetts. Her evening was filled with her usual duties of caring for patients. Her shift was ending at 11 p.m. and she was probably thinking about simple things like the 20 minutes drive home, a late dinner, and getting some rest. She had no idea that 40 miles away, a deadly plan was already set in motion. Why do I call it a plan? Somehow, Kevin had a knife with him, but that's not all. In the city of Lowell, Kevin Kangethe was not acting on a sudden feeling, telling from his actions. He knew two very important things. He knew Maggie's work schedule, and he knew she was driving a 2013 white Toyota Venza that was registered under his name. Maggie had already made it clear she wanted to end things, but Kangethe refused to accept this loss. His next trail of action shows that he was not trying to win her back anymore. He was planning a final violent meeting on his own terms. Actually, his first move is arguably intentional. He did not drive his own car to Halifax because certainly if he did, Maggie might have seen his car and known he was there. Instead, he booked a ride with Lyft to go meet up with her. With all this happening, Maggie is unaware, not even a single clue of just how the next few hours would be. Kevin's 40-mile journey took about an hour, a long, quiet drive. For a normal person, this is more than enough time for any angry feelings to cool down. But for Kevin, it would seem it was not about the anger anymore, but a cold, hard plan. The clock in the car probably showed it was just after 11 p.m. The parking lot was quiet and nearly empty. By the time Maggie was getting out of her shift, Kevin had already arrived, and as Maggie got into the car and sat in the driver's seat, Kangethe made his move, got into the car, and the final part of the journey began. For Kangethe, the hunt was over. For Margaret Mbitu, the last and most terrifying part of her life had just begun. The car did not go south towards Maggie's home as was intended before. Instead, and possibly with Kevin Kangethe in control, it went north on an hour-long trip towards Kevin's home in Lowell. This journey turned the car into a prison on wheels and then a place of horrible crime. The official report from the medical examiner gives a clear picture, one I can only leave for you to read, for the sheer intensity of it and for the respect to Maggie's family. The woman her family once shared happy moments with was gone, replaced by a terrible, silent truth. As per human nature, most people after doing something so terrible would panic, but Kevin Kangethe did the exact opposite. His actions over the next few hours show a shocking composure and nonchalance. He was now a fugitive with a crime to hide. Every move he made next was a careful step in his plan to cover up his crime and escape. First, he needed to control information and buy time. As he drove in the car, her phone started ringing. It was her worried friends and family. He answered the calls, with Maggie right next to him, and this is where he would tell the huge lie. She's had an injury. She can't come to the phone. Immediately after this series of calls, he knew her phone was a big problem. A smartphone can be tracked by GPS. He had to get rid of it somehow. Police later used security camera videos to follow his movements. The videos showed him driving to the nearby city of Chelsea, and there he stopped, found a garbage dumpster, and threw her phone away. He was trying to cut the digital tie that connected Maggie to her family and to the police. What he did next is maybe the most disturbing part of the story. Instead of running away immediately, he went back to his apartment building in Lowell, parked the car with Maggie still hidden inside, and used his home as a base. Now this is a chilling detail. It shows he was not in a panic. Imagine being able to park your car outside full of evidence of your actions, walk into your apartment, and calmly use your computer to search and book for a flight to another country. It would suggest maybe he was able to eat, sleep, and plan while the proof of his crime was just waiting outside. On the Halloween evening of October 31st, a night of masks and tricks, he made his final move in America. He had already bought a one-way ticket for a Kenya Airways flight from Boston to Nairobi. He drove the Venza to Boston Logan Airport, went into the giant central parking garage, and found a parking spot. There, he tried to hide what he had done. He leaned the passenger seat back with Maggie's face down, covered her with bags and random items to make it harder to see. This was an act to buy time, such that before anyone found her, he would be far away from the crime scene. Minutes later, airport security cameras recorded Kevin Kangethe walking into the international terminal. He looked like any other traveler. He checked in, went through security, and got on his flight. As his plane took off for its 7,000-mile flight, Maggie's family was at a police station officially reporting her as a missing person. For 2 terrible days, her family waited and worried. Their report gave the police the lead they needed. The fact that Kevin and Maggie were together for over an year and a half before breaking up, Kangethe would be the first person to ask of her whereabouts. By using a system that tracks car license plates, the police found that the Venza had entered the Logan Airport garage and never left again. After this finding, on the evening of November 1st, state police searched up the garage and quickly they found the white Venza. The description of the police was beyond terrifying. At 7:23 p.m., in the cold concrete garage, Margaret Mbitu was officially declared no more. The search for a missing person was over and an international hunt for a killer had just begun. The evidence in the car at the airport was very strong, but the main suspect was now on another continent. On November the 2nd, the state of Massachusetts issued a warrant for Kevin Kangethe's arrest for the crime. The next day, the FBI's attention was courts and they issued their own warrant for him. This officially made the case a global manhunt and started a partnership between the police in America and the police in Kenya, particularly the DCI. For 3 months, from November 2023 to January 2024, Kevin Kangethe seemed to have vanished. He was hiding in his home country, a place he knew very well. An Interpol red notice was sent out worldwide, which is like an international wanted poster, but he could not be found. This was a painful time of waiting for Maggie's family. The big break in this case finally came at the end of January from a single tip. The tip did not come from a secret police operation, but from a normal citizen in Nairobi. This person saw Kangethe's picture in the news and recognized him. The person told the DCI that a man who looked like Kangethe was often at a nightclub in Westlands, a rather wealthy part of Nairobi. The DCI knew the situation was very sensitive. A big police raid would cause panic and allow Kangethe to escape again, so they chose a secret plan. An undercover officer went into the club. He found Kangethe and started a normal conversation to make sure it was him. Once he was sure, he signaled his team outside. On the night of January 29, DCI officers surrounded the club and arrested a very surprised Kevin Kangethe. Kevin did not struggle at all. It's like he knew this moment would come. This news gave Maggie's family a huge feeling of relief. It felt like justice was finally on its way. But the long and twisted case was about to take another shocking turn. On February 7, 2024, as Kangethe was being held at Muthaiga police station in Nairobi, a man came to the station and said he was Kangethe's lawyer. Following normal rules, the police took Kangethe out of the cell and into a private office to meet the man. What happened next was a huge and embarrassing police mistake. The office was not locked. After a few minutes, Kevin Kangethe simply stood up and walked out of the room to a vehicle awaiting him outside, this suggesting that it was a planned escape. He was free again. This escape was a second terrible blow to the Mbitu family, and from it, 4 police officers were interdicted and 2 of their senior sergeants were reassigned to other stations.
Elijah Kipkorir, James Minor, Hannah Karanja, and Abdi Samad.
The purported lawyer was also arrested. A second, even bigger manhunt began. This time, the key to his capture came from a surprising place, Kangethe's own family. After he escaped, his family in Kenya had a meeting. They had to make a very difficult choice. They either could protect a member of their family, or they could stand up for the truth and for the woman whose life he was accused of taking. They chose justice and decided that if anyone gets to him, they would hand him over to the police. They were questioned by the police to ascertain if they knew the whereabouts of Kevin. 6 days after his escape, on 13th February, a desperate Kevin Kangethe went to a relative's house in the town of Ngong, looking for a safe place to hide. Unbeknown to him, his own family was waiting. As soon as he arrived, they informed the DCI, and as quick as the news came, the police went to the location given to them before Kevin would connect any dots, and the second arrest was made. This time, the arrest was final. He had been turned in by the same people he trusted to protect him. With Kangethe back in a secure prison and eyes on him this time, the process to send him back to America began. There was a lot of pressure from around the world for the police to not make the same mistake again. On July 31st, 2024, Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina made the final decision, ordering that Kevin be extradited to the United States to face the law for his crime. A month later, on Saturday, August 31st, 2024, Kevin Kangethe was put on a plane to the United States. This time, he was not flying by choice. He was with FBI agents and a state trooper. He landed at Logan Airport, the same place he had used to escape 10 months ago. He had left as a killer in hiding, but he returned as a prisoner in chains. 3 days later, he was taken to a Boston courthouse for his first appearance before a judge. Maggie's family had filled the front seats. They sat in a strong, sad silence that was crying for justice. They had come to be a reminder of the life that was taken and to finally look into the eyes of the man accused of murdering their Maggie. But they were denied even this basic moment of justice. In a very strange and dramatic move, Kevin Kangethe refused to enter the courtroom. He stayed in a small hallway just outside with his back turned.
Kangethe was allowed to stay hidden for today's hearing.
He would not or could not face the sad and powerful stare of the family he had destroyed. His lawyer had to shout questions and answers to him down the hall. The family saw this as an act of a coward who could not face the deeds he had done.
Until this coward is locked up, and never see the light again.
While the accused man hid, the prosecutor, Mark Lee, stood up and spoke for Maggie. He narrated the story to the judge, connecting all the dots one by one. Then, the official charge of Kevin Kangethe was read: murder in the first degree. From the hallway and through his lawyer, Kevin Kangethe pleaded not guilty. The judge ordered him to be held in jail without bail.